Welcome back, everyone, here for our study group within the Sacred Self-Healing Community. Monday nights at 11 p.m. on Skype Live. That's accessible for everybody. The links are out on my website. My name is Jona Bryndis, and the website is called transCODES.com. Yes, it's a place for spiritual development, a place for learning how to enter into the spiritual realm, how to walk through, let's say, the spiritualization of your life. And I want to talk to you about why we're even doing this. So I'm going to start out with a question for all of you. But before I ask you for your input, I just want to very briefly mention that the Connect with Your True Self free energy session that I do every month is scheduled for this week. So please look at the energy calendar. You can RSVP for this session for free. You can participate as many times as you want to. I think now in year 12. So I've been doing this for 12 years, every month for free. Personally, I find this one of the most important kinds of work that allows us to connect within and internalize our inner experience of our higher self. Yeah, and the way I'm choosing to do this, as you can all see here and benefit from, is through group work. Yeah, through these group sessions. I also offer individual sessions, of course, private sessions for everybody, but the main work and the work that really, really makes my heart beat and that moves my soul is this kind of work that we're about to do here together. So big kudos to you guys for coming to these kind of online meditations that we have here every day, that these discussions, energy talks, and the study group, and now also in a separate Skype thread, the Course in Miracles work. You guys are right on top of what, this time that we live in which everything gets increasingly materialized and rationalized, and also, therefore, less and less comprehensible for us humans. Yeah, requires us to do something about, how we understand ourselves, and maybe also how to understand the world that we're trying to navigate. So let me begin this discussion here with you guys with a very profound question. Why do you even come to these kind of online meditations, energy sessions, discussions, workshops, energy talks? What in you makes you want to learn or practice spiritual work? We talk about all these cool concepts and these techniques and methods. Yeah, we talk about perception a lot and how we can increase our perception. We talk about higher vibratory states and all these kind of things. Those are all concepts. But what is it in you that makes you want to spend your time with this, that makes you want to listen to this, that makes you want to work this?
For me, Yona, it just feels like food for my soul. It just feeds me at a very deep level.
That's very valid. I don't know what to say to that, because that's what it's like for me. Okay, keep going, guys, keep going. What do we get from it?
I think for me, I get to be myself, not have to sacrifice externalizing things that come up for me and patterns that I still have to work through. And through that joint energy, it actually helps it heal and not just mentalize. Like, sadly, that's been what's happening for decades for me. And in 1 year of being in this program, Sacred Self Healing, it's changed so much so quickly, and I think that inspires me to keep going.
Mm-hmm. What makes us want to do spiritual work?
I'm just going to add definitely the food for the soul. But also, I sat with that one day and asked myself, why? Why do you keep coming back? Why do you keep doing this? It's honestly, it's a spiritual impulse. Sometimes I wish I didn't. Honestly, I wish I could go back. I
Oh
know we
yeah.
talked about, yeah, you know what I'm talking
Oh
about.
yeah.
Yeah. But there's nothing, there's not even words that I have to actually describe that impulse, but it's the truest, most clear feeling that I've ever experienced.
Kind of like an inner navigator or something. Is
Yes.
that yeah? That when you say spiritual impulse, it's something inside of you that steers you to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I agree with Cindy. It is hard to, it's challenging to put words to it, because it's something that comes from deep within. But ultimately, I think it's a desire for freedom, to liberate ourselves from the constructs of which we find ourselves enslaved, basically.
Like what? Like
Enslaved.
what are examples for those
So
constructs?
so just the conditioning that we find ourselves living by, and I mean, we've got all our personal conditioning, and then there's the conditioning of our home and our family, and then there's the societal conditioning, and I think it's looking for a sense of freedom from, for me anyway, it's that navigation, that inner navigation tool, that's the compass pointing north, to us, to a greater sense of freedom from the limitations of which we've come. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what I hear you say is that there's a certain level of, well, limitation, as you called it, that is experienced by you in this case, and you try to find a way out, or you try to find a way to get past it. Is that fair to say? I'm trying to figure out, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a sense of not necessarily a sense of trying to find a way out, because the only way out for me is in. But more a sense of liberation from the conditioning from which we've come.
Mm-hmm. But it requires the awareness that there is a conditioning, or that there is a limiting condition, right?
Yeah,
You have to
definitely.
experience that. I mean, you have to, in order to wanting to have more freedom, you have to first experience a certain level of unfreedom, if you will. Like that can be something like a lack of some sorts, right? A lack of money, or a lack of meaningful relationships, or a lack of meaning in life, a lack of purpose. Yeah, so a limitation, is very subjective, and we need to first experience it. Okay, for us, we need to become aware that there is a limitation, that there is a limiting condition, yeah, in order to, even have an inkling, yeah, of you know what to do about this. Yeah, when I said to break free or to get out, or to expand. Really what I was referring to is a certain level of growth. So there's something in us that makes us want to grow beyond, grow beyond, overcome, break free from certain limitations that we all experience. And in the past, would you say that people would always turn to spirituality to find the answers, or to find the compass? Did you always look for answers in the spiritual in your life? I didn't.
I know the beginning of, for me, was partly noticing kind of the suffering that I was in. I think it was like I started to notice the circles I kept spinning into, repeating cycles of things. And then once I touched base with something else, which is essentially meditation, that was kind of the little key that unlocked the door. Then from that point, it seemed like something I was just supposed to do. It was something else to follow rather than what I was doing before. I had no vocabulary for it really, but
Yeah,
it's
Linda's
always been the
commenting on
new
that. Yeah.
path. Like it was never like, I never understood people talking about the journey. I just knew it was something I was supposed to be doing, and it felt like the priority.
So there's a certain level of limitation or hindrance that is important to have had experienced, right? And then there may be different, purposes for that. So some of us may just, try to find answers. Some of us, like Linda commented, no, Julianne here commented, finding a tribe, finding, looking for something in others, or through others, or with others. For some of us, it's about learning the secrets of the universe. Anybody here who wanted to learn the secrets of the universe? That was me. That was me. Yeah. And I call it secrets of the universe because, obviously, we call secrets what we don't understand. Yeah. So there were things out there in my life that I don't know if I actually experienced the limitation as much as, the potential that was there. And I wanted to understand the potential. I knew that there was, similar to what you said, Janet, I knew that there was more. Yeah. So, I've had my share of trauma and limitations and so forth, but that was not enough for me to seek spirituality. What was driving me, yeah, and I'm very honest about this, guys, because, like we all had our journey, that is individual to us, how we actually got to wanting to uncover these secrets. For me, it was really in the curiosity. Yeah, it was about trying to figure out how things work, how life works. Yeah, all the way to, wanting to become a chemist and understand biochemistry and, how this all works on a cellular and biochemical level. Yeah, wanting to understand plants, wanting to understand minerals, wanting to understand human life. Yeah, all this was just really fascinating to me. So we all have a different sort of motivation, I think, in the beginning, but there are some things that are similar or that are the same. When you said, Jared, food for your soul, because I asked a simple question, why do you even spend your time with discussions like this, right? I mean, everybody apparently is so busy, right? We don't have time for this or that, self-care or relationships or things like this. And yet so many people spend so much time with spirituality. And it's very important that we ask ourselves these kind of questions from time to time, like Cindy, like you said, right? So there's certain decisions or choices that we make in life, and they drive us, for a good time. And once in a while we need to check in and ask ourselves why we are even doing this, why or what it is that we're seeking. Now, here comes a sort of a backup code or follow-up question. Does any one of you, or has anybody experienced that the reason why has actually changed over time? Anybody? Like if you look back at your own journey, what were the initial, what do you see as these changes, these transformations that occurred knowingly or unknowingly as you were, sort of walking these steps on your path, to, you know, entering into the spiritual realm and, exploring this. What did you notice? How your motivation changed, or how your reason, your why changed? Many of you gave me a thumbs up here when I asked, did you notice how the motivation changed? No, I'm just
I
asking,
think
like, how? Go ahead,
for
sir.
me, it was actually, I think at the beginning it was really exciting, and I didn't just using this word spirituality. I think it's still hard because so many people have so many different definitions of it. So I never mentally made the discernment, oh, I'm becoming a spiritual person. Although I, when I look at it, I love Louise Hay meditations and Stewart's meditations, and even some of these writings that were channeling from, I don't know, an archangel or something like that. To me, that was like, wow, further information to help that was beyond what I had already been served up in my life. So that enthusiasm of it, I think what's changed, it's still something I have to be doing. That's how it started, and
You're
the
breaking up
root
a
of everything. I think now, and it's been a little bumpy. Some of the bumpy parts, I was like, wait, this is right? So the hard parts, um, how my enthusiasm maybe waned, and my belief in it all waned, but it still leaves me with, I'm still in the choice of, this is what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
So fascination,
Hmm?
fascination.
Did you say fascination?
Mm-hmm.
Um, no, I have a feeling it was more. It really struck a chord. It resonated with me. It gave me more energy.
Okay.
Maybe some fascination, but to me it was a deeper. I think I was still able to be discerning. I wasn't just taken in by every single spiritual thing that came my way. If that, you know what
Mm.
I'm saying.
Yeah, but this is important what you just said. You said something that it gave you more energy, you know, even if that's sort of undifferentiated, but it's enough as a feeling, as a motivation, right? When
Mhm. Mhm.
we move towards something that gives us energy, yeah, in whichever form, yeah, be it in form of life force, that it motivates us, or be it in form of, some kind of, psychological, emotional well-being, mental well-being. You mentioned something about meditation. Those are kind of things that, in this day and age, everybody knows that meditation is good for you. Now, when you started out, or, some of you guys who are more sort of my age, meditation wasn't really something that was sort of mainstream accepted. It was still something either very Hindu or Bhagwan, or, it was kind of exotic to a certain degree. So those of you guys in my age group, like myself, you had to read through a lot of these different kind of schools and teachings and authors, like you just mentioned, Janet. So it wasn't really, something like maybe nowadays astrology or something. Yeah, even astrology in our time, in our early time, yeah, it was, yes, Cindy, like you commenting here, was kind of regarded as woo-woo, was kind of regarded as outside of the norm. This has certainly changed. It's much more, mainstream nowadays, but also with all the other issues that come with it, with the perhaps lack of differentiation, or as I sometimes sort of generalize it as New Age, which is more like the mainstream understanding of spirituality. Yeah, so but that's a good reason, Janet, to feel that this is something that is similar to what Jared said earlier, that gives you energy. Yeah, when we say it's like food for the soul, that too goes into that direction. Yeah, it's this sort of getting something from it, and that's really what I wanted to discuss with you today, along with, like how we can get there. Yeah, what it actually is that, that allows us to, venture into, this sort of forest of different opinions, of different teachings, of different methods, schools, and theories and concepts. Yeah, because that's really important that we remember why we're doing all of this. Yeah, so in this case here, in the setting that I chose, and the way I've built this transCODES platform, there really isn't, any kind of structure, yeah, other than, that we offer these free online meditations every day, several times a day, free energy talks, and free discussion groups like this one here. So there's also like something like a premium membership where we dive deeper into subjects with, the workshops, the sacred self-healing workshops, and the steps, and the workbook, and the daily meditations that you can use as tools to do this on your own. But besides that, really, there isn't any structure. So it's all based on self-selection. You guys are all here because you must be getting something from it. Yeah. So now the question is, the next question is, if you're getting something from it, okay, where do you want to go with it? Not so much in the sense of what is the goal, but how far do you want to go? What do you want to use this for? How do you want to apply it? What are the kind of answers that you are looking for? Do you guys know?
I guess for me, Jona, that goes back to what you were saying, which was a really good point. Like I was talking about conditioning, and you were talking about, this wanting to know this, what the potential, I think you said. And, I still remember like sitting down with my father when I was in my late teens, and, he said to me, what do you want to do with your life? And he was very rigid, and, he was an accountant. And I said, oh, well, I want to self-actualize, and I was like 17 or something, and he had no clue what I was saying. And I think in terms of where you want it to go is, for me, it's really unlocking that potential and seeing just how far you could go with it.
So you're driven by wanting to go as far as you can, basically. You want to go farther.
Yeah.
Constant growth, constant.
Yes, constant growth, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so no particular goal, just really, like you talked earlier about limitations. Yeah, like basically just sort of moving beyond all limitations and see how far you can go.
Hmm.
Okay. And what is the application? You called it self-actualization. It's a very abstract word. Can you put that into like simpler words, maybe? What you
Well, back,
mean?
I mean, when I was 17, you know, I think I mean the same thing that I meant now. I mean now, actually, is just being able to actualize the expression of what I can uncover within myself and express that out into the world.
Mm-hmm. Actualize as in manifest, as in like make it become real, express it in
Yeah,
everything that you
uncover,
do.
yes, peel all the layers back that I can possibly peel back and allow that to come forth so that I can then express it and see what happens then.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? All right, so Julianne is sharing here in the chat when I've discovered this love within. Yeah, so that's something we haven't really mentioned yet. Yeah, knowing this is possible for everyone. Then what? When once you've discovered that, you wanted more of that. Is that what you mean? Yes, Sean is sharing here. Unconditional love. That's just a word. Can you put a verb to it? Like what? Finding it, putting it into your life.
Okay, I think I can give it a go. I think that no matter how other people perceive me, I know that it's not a direct reflection on me necessarily, and that gives me the power to go in and discern rather than punish myself, which is what I have done most of my life through
Okay.
conditioning and suffering. So I wanted to find who I am without all
Okay.
triggers and conditioning and cognitive dissonance. I didn't
It's
want the
basically seeing
suffering.
yourself from the inside out rather than from the outside in.
I just didn't want to be a victim of whatever was thrown at me, which was a lot for one soul. It was just too much. It's not even, I wanted the past to go at all costs. And I think through this, it's not dangerous, but with me on my own, it was quite dangerous because I was willing to do desperate things to try and let the past go, which wasn't healthy for me.
Okay.
So
So there's an aspect of freedom. There's the aspect of breaking free from these patterns, these conditionings, and things that you've experienced as a
yes,
struggle. And
I
then
think you would know what that's like. Yes, exactly. And knowing that people can relate to me in this group, it's so
okay.
clear and
Hmm.
so painfully beautiful at times, but I'd rather put it in here than at, at the outside where it can go anywhere, it can be destroyed or manipulated. I think that's the real distinction for me.
So it's kind of like the link
It's
to
the
the
link
true self, like
and the
finding
trust.
who you are and then express and learning how to express who you truly are in a way.
Thank you.
That's what I'm hearing. Like you said this earlier too, Sean, when you um, uh, I'm paraphrasing here. I don't exactly remember how you said it, but for you, it was also about sort of not worrying about what other people think or how they see you, but to actually become able to be you without limitation, without feeling like you have to be somebody or you have to be in a certain way. Yeah, this has to do with the
I,
sense of self, right?
I feel that very deeply, actually, as you saying that. That's very congruent right through me.
Yeah, so this is similar to what Jared said too, because at the end of the day, self-actualization, yeah, is that's an internal process. It has to do with the manifestation and the expression, but it really, comes down to wanting to understand yourself. Yeah. Wanting to, well, to kind of find out who you are. Yeah. Yes. And Cindy, I like what you said here, learning to be an active participant in my own life. Yeah, an active participant. That's similar to what Sean said, to free yourself of, these things that come at you, and not to actually feel like a victim of life, but to step into a more active role. Mm-hmm. And then in your case, Cindy, to learn to love and to share it with others. So, those are all really, really cool goals. For Linda here, it's about self-healing, but also learning to love and finding and expressing, the best of you, yeah, the true self. So, guys, these are like really, really, really good reasons why we look into spirituality. Yeah, understanding ourselves better, navigating the world better, finding some sort of support through others. Those are really, really beautiful goals. Yeah, because those are all these qualities that we have as humans. If you think about it, yeah, wanting to find your true self, wanting, to understand yourself better. That's like a fundamental, sort of human quality. Yeah, this I awareness. Yeah, the awareness of yourself as a unique conscious being and wanting to understand that. And then obviously the things that have to do with manifestation, with love and sharing and community, those are all things that have to do with the interaction. Yeah, the interacting with other conscious beings, with other true selves. Yeah. And then, the third aspect is, like how to navigate through these, well, mostly perceived as adversities of life, yeah, what life throws at us, as you called this, Sean, like the things that the curveballs, yeah, how to better navigate them. Can you see this here as a thread, weaving through you guys' answers? Yeah, it's about who am I? Yeah, why am I here? And what do I want to leave behind? What do I want to bring into this world? The three most fundamental spiritual questions. And, we all come from a place where we are already, no longer naive. We already understand that there are adversities, that there are hindering forces, yeah, that make it harder for us to know who we are, to understand, why we're here and what to do with this and how to share this with others, how to bring this into the world. So we already know that, there are some things that we have to navigate. Yeah, it's like a path, that winding path. Yeah, mostly in the dark or in some kind of fog. Yeah, and we have to learn to navigate this. Now, here comes another question that, goes along with, the question of why do we even look at spiritual things? How do you feel about, the traditional spiritual path, which would be through religion? What is you guys' relationship with religion? And I call this traditional because that's, ultimately, if you think about it, what all these, spiritual teachings and then their organized form, yeah, in Christianity, churches, yeah, in Judaism, synagogues, and Islam, mosques, yeah, and temples in Buddhism, yeah. So the organized form. What's your relationship with that? I mean, that is the traditional way.
Well, it's for me, I was just thinking about that because part of what's kept me going is really, I feel it's this pursuit of happiness, and not in, I don't know, in my own way, not in every single way that we've maybe heard it out there. That it was, just what had me make whatever choices I had to make. It was a silent guide that I wasn't aware of, but I can look back and kind of see it. And this includes, I went to plenty of church and church school in Lutheran religion, which, when I look back,
As a child? Like
I
when you were
just,
a child?
yeah.
When you were a child or when you were like a grown up?
No, this is as a child. I mean, I remember I just liked the reverence of the whole thing. There were things I didn't like about church, but at the same time, I know, there's pictures of me at Christmas having set up a little church thing so we could sit down, and because it's at least, even though it's religion, it's at least people coming together to, it was in my experience, sing. Like we could sing. We got together and we ate, and the whole feeling, often there was reverence. People at least were quiet and they weren't yelling at each other. So I never thought of it that way, but I know that feeling of it was kind of safe thing, and I knew I could do it, and I, things about it that I did enjoy. And of course, if you're going to read some things about Jesus, I got plenty of uh, Wednesday Bible study as a kid and everything like that. There's some good things in there, so maybe I picked up on that too. So it
Okay,
wasn't
so for
really,
you, it's been a positive experience, but somehow,
yeah, overall, yeah. I'm getting very
how come
detailed,
you
but
did pursue that? How come you looked outside of the traditional way, the traditional
well,
spiritual?
it was it's the other side of it. There is also the 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 other side of humanity outside of everybody singing together. And
What do you
as a
mean?
teenager and as an adult in college, I didn't make the choice to go to church that often because I was just busy in art school. So, of course, that took a lot of stuff. But I was going to church from the time I was a kid through high school and a little bit when I was in college. But at that point, I guess my religion started to become drinking. So, some things interfered.
Something's interfered. You got
Yeah.
distracted.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, the other experiences with church here, like sympathies, antipathies. Yeah, what is your guys' feel or experience with the traditional way? Yeah, how people in the old days say that found their way to spirituality. Would like to share.
Do you mean through just taking in what people who do sermons and stuff say, or
Any kind.
contemplate?
I mean, the traditional ways of spirituality. So the way we are coming together here, yeah, and the way we are interacting, sharing, learning together is not the traditional way. It has become more and more sort of state of the art nowadays to do something like Zoom calls or, like we're doing here, Skype calls. Yeah, and but after all, we're a random group of people from all over the world. So, how come, you're seeking it here and not necessarily in a synagogue or in a church or in a mosque? Or
Okay,
maybe some of you do.
can I be honest? I don't find any real validation or truth in my experience of being Jewish. But I have found that when I've been overseas, like in San Francisco, and I've walked into churches, I've been in awe of just the space and just the stained glass windows and the solemnness of that I love. But I don't
Similar to
understand.
what Janet said, the reverence that is expressed in that, and the art maybe also. Yeah.
that peacefulness, and not the way Jewish people are very forceful in nature. So, I wanted to not have to be what I'm seeing only, because it's not matching up how I'm inside. It's
So
making
it
things
came
more.
with too many rules. Is that what you're saying? Like you felt like you had to be in a certain way? In
It felt like I had to be a certain way. And what happened was, when my last grandparent passed almost 3 years ago, I said, this is enough. The sitting at the Passover table and finding salvation through these stories, it's not enough for me. It was. I loved it, and I would recite things so beautifully. But it after those big losses, it wasn't enough for my soul, to be honest.
okay.
Just wasn't enough reading the same thing every year. And but the other key thing for me is still honoring my ancestors through simple traditional things, just
Okay.
simple, without putting
Okay.
too much meaning or belief into it,
Mm-hmm.
connecting to them really.
Yeah, it's similar to the singing together and reading together. Like and eating together. I mean, for me personally, eating together is a very sacred activity. Yeah, there doesn't really have to be any kind of religious background to this. Yeah, it's something that a reverence that I feel. Yeah, also something that I teach to young children. Without any kind of religion. That eating together and singing together and dancing together and sharing, these super human things together, that is a sacred activity, that is what allows us to self-actualize. It allows us to discover who we are, and not just who we are, also how we interact. Yeah, it gives us on that sort of soul level that you guys brought in here into this discussion. It gives us sort of a direction manual. Yeah, and we may not be aware of it so much, but if you look at any kind of religion, organized, or even mystic schools, or spiritual disciplines, they all have these elements in them. Yeah, there's the cultivating of certain things together. There's the revering, the gratitude, the awareness for the beauty, also often for ancestors. Yeah. Um, so for the interconnectedness of it all, yeah, where we came from and where we're going, and just like really, really profound things that somehow our daily life, yeah, the work life, and even for many the family life, yeah, or the just how we spend our time, yeah, is kind of starting to fall away. Yeah, even just sort of times of the day that were natural up until like 50 years ago, that we would call contemplative times. And nowadays we have to, mark our calendar and, schedule when we do a meditation. But, if you think back, just, yeah, maybe the generation of our grandparents, they didn't have all the distraction through technology, and they would just, maybe after a whole day of hard work, sit out on their patio, on their veranda, and just sort of sit and look at the sky or walk through the woods, and maybe they would forage a little bit, but they would interact with the world in this way where there was enough time to do this sort of contemplative and a self-reflective investigation of everything. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember
Look,
when you were kids.
Jonah, did
Mm-hmm.
you, because we're in similar age bracket of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
lovely young women, and right now you're saying this, and I'm definitely remembering, I spent a lot of my time in the summer. I'd go play
Yeah.
tennis until the sun went down, or we'd sit at my mom. We had the little, I forget what it's called, little swing chair in the front of the thing. We'd eat
Mm-hmm.
dinner and we'd sit there and look at the pachysandras and see how they're growing, or walk around the
Yeah.
garden.
Just look
That
at
was
things.
what we did.
Yeah. Yeah. Just look at things. I remember laying in the grass and just looking at the sky, or leaning against a tree as a kid, and looking at the birds, or, these kind of things. So the point that I was trying to make here, or make you aware of, is that nowadays spirituality has almost become like a luxury. Yeah, it's something that is no longer integrated into our lives naturally. Yeah, it somehow cut itself out. Yeah, and some made it special, and some just really forgot about it. Forgot about it. Yeah, because it simply doesn't fit into our today's lifestyle. It takes too much time, right? Who's got an hour, yeah, to just sit there and do nothing, and just look at the sky, or, lean against a tree? Who has the time nowadays? Tree huggers? you know? No, just joking. Yeah, okay, so when we get to this place that we realize that there are certain things that are quite natural, or that were quite natural for our societies, up until just recently. So 50 years is recently, yeah, even if we are younger. Yeah, we got to understand that then about our ancestors, that there was a whole different sort of setup, yeah, in which we found ourselves, that we had to navigate, and we had time to process all of this. And it may appear as simple, when you look back in the past, when you look at like what the world was like 50 years ago, what the world was like 100 years ago, what the world was like 1,000 years ago. But there was also something that appears to me that we have lost, and that is this natural connection, with ourselves and with our environment. And one of the reasons, why we, apart from all the current events and all these things that contribute to, questioning everything, doubting oneself, doubting one's own perception, and, really just sort of getting distracted with the uncertainty of it all. And trust me, every generation had their apocalypse. Yeah, every generation had their sort of, enemy or fear thing going. Yeah, and yet here we are, the offspring of all these ancestors, of these people that came before us. Yeah, and we're still, dealing with the same type of uncertainty, the fear of the unknown. Yeah, the fear of what will there be in the future. So when it comes to navigating the future, and this is a great example here, Jared, that you made when, your dad asked you when you were 17, what kind of man do you want to become? Because it all points at the future. Okay, and it has come to my awareness that nowadays people are actually living even more in the future than they did before. So this is something that has gradually declined over the years. Yeah, the ability to actually be in the now, yeah, as Eckhart Tolle calls it. Yeah, this sort of present moment awareness, and actually just being here, being with yourself, and taking the time it takes, yeah, to process, to understand, to hear your own thoughts, to, have your own thoughts, have your own feelings about things, and, make choices based on, what feels true to you. We're losing this ability, and instead we're seeking answers in some forms of conceptualized spirituality. But when we are actually discussing what we are seeking. You guys all used extremely, simple ways to describe that. I think, Janet, you summarized it as the pursuit of happiness. Terry called it self-actualization. Cindy called it learning to love and share love. Yeah, I called it learning about the secrets of life and the secrets of world. So there's different components to it. And, for the individual, this is more important than that. But at the end of the day, those are very, very simple things, actually. Yeah. We want to understand. We are conscious, intelligent beings. Whether we call it spiritual impulse or, the pursuit of happiness, or whether we call it reverence, or whether we call it gratitude, it doesn't matter. We are conscious beings, and we're trying to understand ourselves and the world that we interact with. And this is why we are seeking. This is why we are, leaning or gravitating to things that feed this part in us. And I want to send you home today with this full awareness that that is what makes you human, and that pursuit, that seeking, yeah, these asking this asking questions about who am I and why am I here, what am I supposed to bring into this world, what am I supposed to actualize, that is a fundamental expression of spirit. This is spirit, guys. And the reason why I asked you about your relationship with religion or organized religion is because obviously, and I'm of that generation, we live in times where it's very, very controversial, where, here in the United States, it's actually still kind of okay to talk about God and Jesus or Yahweh or, Muhammad. But if you go to like countries such as, Scandinavian countries or the UK or Germany, you will find that it's actually kind of poo-pooed, yeah, to talk about God or to talk about spirit or to talk about food for the soul. Those are things that are no longer really part of how we understand life. They've been slowly cut out. These questions have been cut out, and the times or the opportunities to contemplate about them also has been cut out. Yeah, whether you used to go to church to do this, or whether you sat on your patio, yeah, in your swing, or whether you just laid in the grass and looked at the sky. All these things that are so natural for us to do as these conscious beings, yeah, slowly, slowly, slowly are disappearing. And this is why we feel the need, yeah, to seek answers somewhere. And you guys are the lucky guys, yeah, that are, seeking in the spiritual. Where do you think the majority of people are trying to find answers nowadays? Do you think it's spirituality?
No, I think they're still looking through it through media and just everything. Like just last night driving home, I just noticed that everywhere, everything was like the petrol station and the Porsche and this. I just noticed there's signs everywhere, because I don't usually look for it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, whoa, this is so overwhelming. How are these kids getting any understanding when there's just signs everywhere? And I live in a small town,
What do you mean
like
signs? What kind of signs are you referring to?
not spiritual signs, but like the petrol shop and the hardware shop, like at night, and they're lit up everywhere. And it's just like, all this
Like
stuff.
neon signs, neon stuff, and light. You mean like artificial light?
Yes,
Mhm.
like for different shops and the Porsche shop.
Messaging. Yeah, some kind of messaging from the outside.
Yeah, that it's like I'd be like, this is so confusing because this is not what I look for, and it's like
Mhm.
I just noticed it, and I noticed that it affected me in a different way because I don't usually look at these things. I just focus on whatever's
Yeah,
going on.
it's just the amount of impulses that are coming in from the outside,
It's
right?
so much, Jona.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
just like gee whiz.
So where do you think the majority of people are looking for answers? You said media, so like turn on TV, watching shows, listening to contemporary
I
music,
think they still want to
social
sort.
media.
I think they still think that they need to be number one to be accepted. That's what my impulse is.
So winning, they're trying to find answers,
Still trying to win life in a
try to
way
win. Hmm.
not that's not about connection. It's about actually further isolation. That's my impulse.
Hmm.
With many people, with the way that they're using language and their frustrations, they're not actually getting to the cause of the frustrations. They're just fire on top of fire because they're not equipped because they haven't been doing this kind of stuff. So this stuff's still foreign to them. That's just placebo effects. That's the word I've been hearing all year from
Hmm.
people. Oh, it's just placebo. It's just that. I'm like, okay. So
Placebo
it's a
has a
lot of
40% healing chance.
but it's more of a chance of healing than sitting there with a broken
Okay.
toe. That's
Uh,
what it is.
Placebo isn't bad, actually.
It's really not bad. It's bad if I take it and then do bad stuff with it, which people do, but that's part of the
Well, it can
impulse.
work in both ways, obviously. Yeah. You
Yeah,
can also, yeah. You can
there
also.
you go. So there's the discernment with how we use that impulse for
Mhm.
good or for whatever else it is, for rubbish. Thanks for
So
that.
winning, you say winning. Okay. So people are trying to find answers. They're trying to find out how they can win over life, how they can. And I'm just sort of following the rabbit hole here of what you were saying and the energy, the energetic quality that comes with that. Yeah, how to beat life. Yeah, or how to beat others. Okay,
How to beat the system,
how to
the
beat the
casino.
system.
The house always wins. That kind of
Yeah.
thing that we're all getting
How
screwed
do
over
people
and
try
stuff.
to do this? How do people try to win over life or beat the system? What are the tools that they're using?
Coercion and charm and manipulation and gaslighting and
Okay, so relationship things. They're trying to find this through relationships.
yeah,
The things that you mentioned, they all take place within interaction. Hmm.
dynamics. Got it. Control. Yeah, I'm
Control.
better than
Hmm.
you. You're not better than you're not good enough to enter this.
How do
You
people
know.
measure this? How do people measure success? How do people measure, well, this sort of being good? I mean, how do you know that you won?
Well, if you look the part and you've got the accessories for the part, then you must have gotten the part.
All right,
Do you
so
know
it's
what?
looks.
That's the
Okay.
assumption. If it all looks good, then it must be good. And it's like,
Okay. The looks. I mean, I see a world where, maybe I see the world differently than you, Sean, but for me, the answer is very, very simple. How do people try to get to happiness nowadays? Yes, they're looking to consume. Why? Why?
I
What is that?
I
Consume.
think this relates that in the last 10 years, this one like bigger acceptance of going, say, on ayahuasca journeys and traveling to do that,
Hmm.
regardless of the result, has been. And um, I personally feel like there's a resurgence of people saying that smoking pot is like everyday okay and more people doing it. and not considering it as a bad addiction. And of course, people not recognizing other addictions. I feel like people get lost, choose addiction as a way to shift their reality. Everybody's going to be different.
Okay, so
However,
just
it's
create a
kind of a
different reality.
cry for
Yeah.
something different.
So, but I mean, we're still staying within the mainstream understanding here. So one way or one concept to win or to hack the system is to create another reality, huh? To escape the matrix. Yeah, to just create a different reality. Yeah. What is another way that, well, probably the other half. You talked about consuming, Cindy? Consuming what?
Anything to make you feel better.
Mm-hmm. To make yourself feel better?
Yes, and it's all externalized. If you're consuming something, it's coming from the outside in, regardless of what it is. It's not until you make that flip to the inside and connect inward.
So consuming and consuming requires quite a few resources, right? I mean, we all are consumers, we all also producers, but you said that with intent, and I understand what you mean. I understand, that you are referring to, the coping aspect, like this making yourself feel better, helping you to get through. Yeah. But there is something behind that consuming that we need to investigate here to fully understand. We're trying to understand the world that we are in. Yeah. Why? Because if we are asking, who am I and what am I supposed to bring to this world, I first need to investigate, obviously, besides, going in and trying to understand myself, what the world is that I'm living in. Yeah. What world do we live in? If we want to know how to actualize, how to bring ourselves into this world, we need to understand, what world that is. Yeah, and then maybe also what the world needs. But what are, the things that people are orienting themselves toward that leads to, all these natural things, these natural ways of connecting and realizing, the interconnectedness with everything and, getting inspired and, really being with spirit. All these things are quite natural to us, yeah, as humans. What is it that is distracting us away from that is hindering us? Yeah, we already found out one.
I think people are being separated by technology, and
Okay.
it's been sold to us as a consumer, basically as an operation that as a function over the years, consumerism has just kind of taken over, and now technology has
Yeah, but
allowed
what's
it
the
to become
purpose of
so.
consumerism? What's the purpose of it? I mean, think
Fill the
simply.
gap.
Okay, and how do we try that? How do people out there try that?
Well, people feel empty, so they fill themselves with whatever they can.
Material. Yeah.
Yeah.
Car, house, sometimes also experiences, yeah, trips, and items. Yeah, Sean, you're commenting here. Performance has a lot to do with that. You're trying to top each other. Yeah, in the size of the car, or the size of the house, or the number of cars and number of houses. Yeah, so it's all material. In the way they measure it. Okay.
I know this because my father was completely like this, and I felt so embarrassed every time we'd rock up to a breakfast at a cafe in a Lamborghini, And I'm like, this is not me. This is not real. The people fawning over the car, it's effed up. Sorry to. It was just so disconnected the whole time.
But this is the reality of it. I mean, I don't want to judge it too much. I just want to really understand the world. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? So we have to understand that the majority of people are in, this place where they think that the way they can navigate the world is through materialism, consumerism, and basically, somebody mentioned, I think Jared here, separating, and basically sort of protecting, what they've gathered, getting, owning. All right.
Yeah, Jona, I think too. I hope you can hear me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like the material world, and humanity now has come so far away from spirituality. Like when you were talking about church and religion, even 1,000 years ago, we were in humans were into nature and sympathetic magic and feeling nature, and actually that was needed as well, because it's part of our evolution. Because when we are connected to nature and the spirit of things, that gives us a feeling that when it's not just about us, the focus is just not on our own human wants and needs. And then religion comes in to actually help foster a sense of that there is something, and the groups of people can gather together and discover and talk about and try to actually have an understanding of where our purpose is in the world. And then all of this seems to have been put to the background, as you were saying before.
Yeah, or transfigured, right? Or sort of perverted in a way, somehow, or inverted. I like the word inverted, because everything seems so backwards to the true understanding of everything. It's like everything is almost like the opposite of what it should be. Yeah.
It's been pushed into the background, and it's like everything that we've come through, we've forgotten and we've put it back, and it's like, no, it was there for a purpose. It's a building block. It's a building block for our own growth. And now what has happened with this feeling of survival and lack and everything that's been pushed onto us is that focus on the material. So people aren't even looking at the spiritual. They're so focused on the material and their bodies and survival and, owning, getting, having more than others, or just actually not even that. It can even just be to feel secure and safe and to have something for the family. But the attention has totally been hijacked, as you call it, being hijacked. And we are not even thinking in spiritual terms of what we have been built on from our ancestors, that had reverence for the cycles, had reverence for, everything.
The seasons, how nature works, how humans work, even the human cycles. Yeah, all that is slowly going in the background.
Yeah, and it's like to bring that back. So maybe humans do have to go through this feeling of emptiness, and when I was a child, what is this all about? What is this for? Because I think coming back to that is like, I remember as a child thinking, well, hang on, what is the purpose of me even being here? There was an inner desire to want to know, why is any of this happening and what is this for? And that is sort of what humanity may have to go through, this dark night of the soul and this feeling of emptiness, to actually ask that question themselves. But while we're so distracted it is very, when do we have the time to do that when we're so distracted?
So ultimately, what all this comes down to is a new or a kind of updated definition of what spirituality is. Spirituality is, as we just worked out here together, a way to understand oneself, to understand myself, to understand the world that I am living in, and to explore all the different ways, that I can navigate this in order to grow, in order to evolve, in order to, as Jared, I like how you said this, to see how far we can go. That is what spirituality is. That leads us beyond those 3D limitations. The limitations today, we've investigated them, are, the fast-pacedness of life, the amount of impulses, amount of distractions, the amount of frustrations and emptiness, and the uncertainties about the future, the uncertainties about one's own well-being and survival, that put us into a place of constant consuming, constant sort of just trying to cope all our deficiencies, if you will, and the excess at the same time, to cope that away, to make that go away. So as humans, we are in a place here right now in, to the end of 2023, where we have forgotten to ask questions. We have forgotten to ask these questions. Who am I? Where am I from? And what am I supposed to bring into this world? What is the purpose, of me bringing myself into this world? Because only through this type of inquiry, only through this type of curiosity.
I have something to add.
Yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I guess my phone cut out. Well, there's also seems to be have lost touch with what the virtues and knowing the true difference between what's good and what's not good, what's right and what's wrong. That there really is I consider that intrinsically connected to spirituality. That now with so much media and everything, words don't have their meaning and the behavior behind it. People can use these. I think months ago we were talking about, they call to the gaslighting and stuff. People can use these terms, but they're not actually being them. So it starts to distort virtues. And
yeah, Janet, you're breaking up quite a bit. Okay, so I think I know you know what it is that you're trying to
behave.
Yeah, Janet, you're breaking up quite a bit. Okay, so let me just kind of reiterate what I hear you say. Okay, so you're commenting on the ability to discern truth, and how we are now. I don't know if it's now more than ever before. I honestly not sure about this, but I'm sure that it does feel that way for every generation confronted with untruth. Yeah, we are definitely confronted with more bombardment of untruths. Yeah, like I think untruths were always there before, but we are in a peculiar time where it's not just the untruths that we're confronted with, it's also the restriction of freedom and the restriction of interaction, the love, sort of the unlove. So we're confronted now with untruth, unfreedom, and unlove. Okay, separation is a form of unlove or isolation or going against one another. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir here, yeah, and that we are basically all seeing it the same way, yeah, that these kind of conditions, yeah, lead to us living in a world that's quite, well, sick, if you will, toxic in a way, yeah. There is nothing there really that we can strive for, yeah, as far as the virtues or as far as the role models, the goals, of that is concerned, unless, we actually enter into this process through, well, self-selection and self-actualization. We have to learn how to do this ourselves. Yeah. And that is also basically the meaning of self-healing, because self-healing says nothing but, learning how to transform, yeah, adverse conditions, adverse, circumstances, yeah, be they physical of nature, emotional, or mental, intellectual of nature, or spiritual of nature. But the ability to transform, these adversities from within ourselves. And unfortunately, as we already partially found out, and I'm just sort of bringing this all together now, that even spirituality for the majority of people is a form of consuming it, is a form of consuming, I think it was you, Janet, who said earlier, like, no, Sean, it was you, like, if you look the part, if you have the right props and accessories, yeah, if you talk the talk and, are super spiritual, okay, that is also a way how people nowadays see that they can maybe win over others, yeah, that they can maybe, get the validation and get the approval from the outside, all externalized. And you mentioned that correctly so. Yeah, so we're at a place where we're literally forced to step into our own self-awareness, yeah, through self-selection and self-inquiry. And this is why you guys are here, okay? Because you have an open mind, an open heart, and an open spirit, all right, to, just simply take the time to contemplate about all these important questions that lead to, well, where do they lead to? Here, right here. Yeah, and Jared, the way you said it in the beginning, yeah, it feels like food for my soul. I want to add one thing, even though I said earlier I can't add anything to it. It also feeds the body. It also feeds the heart. It also feeds the mind. It feeds more. It feeds the whole of us. And especially when we do this together. Okay? We are in that moment of, sort of feeding one another, especially if we share all this like we did this today. Beautiful, by the way. Thank you all for sharing. We're feeding another. We're not consuming. We're feeding. Okay? Yeah, we're listening to one another. We're exchanging. We're feeling into what we need, what we want. And that is ultimately, but the answer to all those questions that or the problems that we are experiencing in this world today. We're coming together to explore, to grow, to learn, to discern, to love, and to share, and nothing more. And that is the higher expression of being human. That is the definition of a spiritual human. That is what spirituality is. No matter what church you go into, or what school you belong to, or what belief you have, or what rules you have, doesn't matter. Because there's something so profound about being human that we all share. This impulse, this desire to exchange, to be with one another, yeah, to not judge one another, to just be with another, to share, yeah, maybe even to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Okay, I had a very interesting conversation today with one of the heart warriors, and I often make fun of this picture, this visualization, this image of, you don't need to do anything. All you got to do is hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Well, I'm going to share the deepest secret of that with you. As a matter of fact, if we would all hold hands, dance in a circle together, and sing Kumbaya together, we would actually bring extremely high levels of healing to this world. But it's got to be for the right reasons. We have to be aware of it. We have to know why. You cannot just go out there and eat spirituality. If you consume spirituality, you're basically eating your own soul away. You're not feeding it. You're consuming it. Spirituality is about feeding and not eating. Yeah? So let's just leave our beautiful discussion here. Yeah, I would like to continue this next Monday in the study group here. And as always on Wednesdays at the Life Energy Talk, please share this. Share these recordings. Yeah, share these videos. Also the free energy alignments that I have, and especially the opportunity to participate in the free Connect with Your True Self energy session, group session that we all do together. Do you guys have any idea how powerful this is? Especially in times like this, especially in this world that we're finding ourselves in. It's huge, guys, and especially if it's people who understand and know why. Not just to make themselves feel better, not just to consume, call themselves spiritual. No. You understand why. Because you just took the time, yeah, to feel into this and to become fully aware of it. And also to discern a little more. Yeah, and also to become a little more free in your ways of thinking. And also to tune, you also through tuning into the reverence of it all and the magnificence of it all, and truly, the grace of it all. Yeah? You've just done this. So let's go a little deeper next time, yeah, and learn a little bit about navigating, yeah, these spiritual realms in which we are all trying to find answers. Wonderful study group here. Thank you everybody for coming and for watching and for contributing.